Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. Well, health insurance policies are something that all of us have ensured we have adequately, and of course it's updated. This last 1.5 years, the health crisis that we've all been through, especially during April and May, is something that has caused all of us to give that segment a relook. But do you know what should be included in your health insurance policy? Yes, it may bump up your premium a little bit, but it is absolutely worth it. And today we'll be talking about two such inclusions. One is what we call as OPD. The second is dental. Yes, believe it or not, today a visit to the dentist as well can cost you, well, quite a bit, an arm and a leg almost, especially if you have serious dental problems. So we've decided to talk about both of these inclusions. We have with us Amit Chhabra, Health Insurance Business Head with PolicyBazaar.com. Amit, hi, good evening, and thanks so much for taking our time joining us today on The Money Show. So to start with, Amit, what does a plain vanilla comprehensive Mediclaim cover today? If we could just start off with that.
Sure. See, a plan, an average plan today, I would rather say, a plain vanilla plan, as you said, typically covers for inpatient hospitalization only. So any inpatient treatment, like you getting admitted to a hospital and then requiring treatment, it could be a surgery, it could be, a prolonged illness, anything which requires at least 24 hours of hospitalization typically gets covered in an average health insurance policy. Also, what it covers is for daycare treatments. So by daycare treatments, I mean specific treatments which typically require hospitalization, but because of advancement of technology are now covered in daycare procedures. That also gets covered. For example, chemotherapy or cataract surgeries and all, they also get covered in an average policy today. Now the question is, what is not covered in an average policy? So any outpatient treatment, like let's say, or any consultation, like let's say, I have to go to a doctor because I have a fever for the last 5 days, or I'm suffering from common cold, something which is very, very normal and sort of common that happens to everybody. That consultation to a general physician is not covered in any health insurance policy today, or I would say most health insurance policies today. Similarly, if I'm having pain in my tooth and I need to go and consult a dentist, that is also not covered in a regular health insurance policy today. So that, I think, is a big gap that is out there in the market. And it does leave you, as a customer, as an insurance policy holder, it does leave you with some exposure, because while the expenses typically would not go into lakhs of rupees, it will still be a high enough expense. And there is merit to get a health insurance policy which covers for outpatient expenses as well. In fact, if you look at global trends, in most large developed markets like the US or the UK, typically OPD benefits or outpatient benefits are also covered in health insurance policies. Indian market is not at that stage as yet, but I think we have reached a stage now where going forward, we'll see more and more outpatient coverage in health insurance policies.
Well, yeah, it may not be as big as, of course, your hospital bill, but nevertheless, it can run into several figures. Just a case in point is COVID, right? You have pre-consultation, you have several CT scans, especially if your situation is a little more on the worse side. There are so many expenses that have to be incurred, medicine expenses, etc. So all the more an OPD gains importance. And, what does the OPD cover then? If you could give us some examples as well. I know you spoke a little bit about what outpatient expenses are, but if you could just enumerate with the help of examples of what would be covered under OPD.
Sure. So the two biggest categories in OPD are general physician and dental. So general physician basically refers to a generic doctor who you go to for a variety of illnesses where you're going for a consultation. So it could be a small injury, let's say, that happened and somebody needs stitches. It could be a common cold or a bad throat or a fever that you're having for a viral fever or something. So anything of that kind where you go to a general physician for consultation, that gets covered typically in OPD. That's part one. Part two, as I said, is dental, where basically we're referring to anything related to a dentist where you have to go. Let's say you're having a toothache, you need a root canal treatment. Anything where you need consultation with a dentist typically gets covered in the dental OPD as well. Another important category is basically linked to your eyes, and if somebody's having a problem with the eye, you want to go see your eye specialist. That consultation typically also gets covered under OPD. So essentially, minor ailments related to generic conditions, eyes, could be ENT, could be a dentist. All of those typically get covered under OPD treatments, and the consultation part of it gets covered. Now, different policies may have different flavors to it. Some would cover, let's say, the cost of medicines also. Some may not cover it. So different policies would cover different coverages. But typically, a good OPD policy will provide you a cashless or a reimbursement benefit for consultations, for any diagnostic tests, for any medication that is given by the medical practitioner as well. So all of that will be covered in your health insurance policy if you buy a comprehensive health insurance policy which has coverage for OPD as well.
Is there when you say that we take it as a part of our policy, is there an amount limit as to how much can you claim as OPD under all these expense heads that you said about?
There is, and it varies a lot by policy to policy. So some of the better policies today tell you that you can claim up to 10,000 rupees in OPD benefit, and there is no specific capping in there. So there is no capping on the number of consultations or the type of consultations. That's one type of plan. It's slightly expensive, but then it gives you a no questions asked limit of, let's say, 10,000 rupees every year per member. Then there are some plans which give you a per usage capping. So what they say is that you can claim 350 rupees per consultation for every time that you go to a doctor. Now here it basically means is that every time you go to a doctor, and typically your OPD consultations would range between 300 to 500 rupees. What it basically says is for every consultation, you can claim 350 rupees from the insurance company. If there is any claim over and above that, or any amount over and above that, that has to be paid by the customer itself. But up to 350 rupees, it will be paid by the insurance company. And then there are multiple such consultations allowed. So up to 5 to 6 consultations every year are allowed to you with a general physician. And similarly, 5 to 6 consultations with a dental practitioner. One can just go and claim these, and in a cashless manner as well. So for example, there is a plan today called Care Plus from Care Health Insurance. There, if you buy it, for example, on Policy Bazaar, you can actually, on our application itself, book an appointment with an OPD practitioner. You can just go to the OPD practitioner. It will all be cashless. There is nothing that you have to pay from your own pocket. Everything will be taken care of by the insurance company. So it's become a very seamless process. You just need to log in into the app. You can choose the dentist or the OPD practitioner you want to go to. You go there and everything else is taken care of by the insurance company.
Okay. Now the question is, to what extent could it bump up the premium, when you include an OPD, either in both cases, when you include it with the base plan or when you add it as a rider versus a regular plain vanilla comprehensive plan?
Sure. See, the good news for customers is that historically, OPD plans used to be very, very expensive. And what that used to mean was that they would bump up premium significantly. So let's say for a 10,000 rupee OPD benefit, you would end up paying about 4,000 to 5,000 rupees from your own pocket, which a lot of people tended to avoid because, instead of spending that 5,000 rupees upfront, you would rather use that money to pay for OPD. The good news is now there are a lot of new plans coming up where they allow for OPD at a very, very affordable cost, or in fact, almost negligible cost. So the plan that I was referring to, Care Plus, that will allow you up to 3,000 rupees of OPD and dental. This is almost free of cost because the pricing of the plan is, at par with the other plans that are available in the market without OPD today. The only one difference is that you have to stay in the network of OPD, of the network which is specified by the insurance company. And mind you, it's a fairly large network. So you look at any of the large hospitals as well, like a Max or a Fortis or a Medanta. Even their clinics are a part of this network. But what they provide you is a completely cashless experience, which means that, again, it's become very seamless for you, and that's available practically at zero cost for the customer. So what it means is no extra cost. You get additional OPD benefits in some of these new age policies that are now coming up.
Okay, well, great. I'm sure this was very enlightening for our viewers, and I'm sure all of them are going to, keep OPD as a part of their health insurance plans. Amit, thanks so much for joining us with this enlightening session.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, we're going to take a very short break on the show. Be right back with more on The Money Show.